This video is all about subtraction of decimal numbers. The subtraction method is exactly the same as the column method used for whole number subtraction. The only thing that's different is that you need to understand about the place value in terms of decimal numbers. If we look at the first one, we're going to do the sum 12.3 take away 9.7. Now, first of all, we need to realise that the number we are taking away is 9.7. The number you're taking away always comes after this subtraction sign here. So therefore you know that when you transfer it into the column, that is the number that is always going to go on the bottom row, because that is the number that is being taken away. Right, we need to put it into the column, so therefore the 12.3 is the number that we are starting with, and from that we are going to take away 9.7. Now the 9 means 9 units. Now in 12, the 2 are the units, so therefore the 9 is going to go underneath the 2. You then have the decimal point following on, just like you do after the 12 point. And then the 7 is just after the decimal point, so that means its value is actually worth tenths. So there are 7 tenths that are going to go under the 3 tenths of the other number. Okay, now you've set it out correctly, you'll notice that the decimal points actually line up. That's one way of making sure that you always have the correct columns or the correct numbers in the correct place value columns too. Now you would just treat it like a normal subtraction using the subtraction of whole numbers method. So first of all, we would say that we've got 3 tenths and we need to take away from that 7. There aren't enough there, so therefore we need to make there be more so that we can actually subtract the 7 tenths. So as whole number, you just go to the column next door, which happens to be the units column. We're going to take one of those, so we'll have 1 left out of the 2 units that were in there originally, and we're going to chop that up into tenths, so there would be 10 tenths, which is why that number then becomes 13. Now there's enough in there because this column, the tenths column, now has 13 in there. We are going to take away from that 13 7, which is 6. We're then going to put our decimal point in because it needs to line up in the answer. Then we're going to look at the units. Now the unit says 1, take away 9. There isn't enough in that unit column, so we're going to have to go to the tens column. We're going to take the single 10 that's there and we're going to chop it up into its 10 unit parts. That now becomes 11. Now there's enough because it's bigger, so 11 take away 9 is 2. And then the 0 tens that were left in there, take away 0 anyway, is still going to be 0. So you can write it or you don't have to, but the final answer would be 2.6. The next sum we're going to look at is 43.7, take away 25.48. We would set it up again exactly like before, taking care that we are actually putting the same value same place value in this correct place value column. First of all, I would start off with my number that I am taking away from, so therefore I would write 43.7. From that, I'm going to take away this number because it says take away 25.48. So the 25 I know are whole numbers, so I know that the 20 is worth 10, so it's going to go under the tens column. The 5 is units, so it's going to go under the 3 units of the top number. I've then got my decimal point, and then I've got the 7 tenths on the top one. On this number, it's 4 tenths, so I'm going to put that there under the tenths, and then I have the 8, which actually means there's 8 hundredths there, or 8 hundredths I should say. Now on this one, there's a blank space here. This blank here just means there's nothing in there. To make it easier for my brain to realise that there's nothing in there, I'm actually going to put a place value holder. So I'm putting a 0. That 0 just means there isn't anything in there. Now I've set it up like that, I should be able to just go back to my whole number subtraction method. And first of all, I would take a place value column at a time. I've got nothing in this top column here, but I need to subtract 8. Well, I can't because this number has to be bigger. So therefore, I'm going to go to the column next door. I'm going to take one of those, which means there's going to be 6 left. I'm going to chop it up into its 10 parts, which is why that then becomes 10. Now it's bigger. Now I can take away 8. 10 take away 8 is 2. I'm then going to move to the next column. 6 take away 4, well 6 is bigger, so therefore I can take away 4 easily. That would leave 2. I've then got my decimal point. I'm then going to move to the units column. 3 take away 5. Now 3, I haven't got enough. It's too small. So therefore I'm going to go to the tens column. I'm going to borrow one of those tens, chop it up into the units, which is why a 10 goes in there. So 13 take away 5. There's now enough. And that would be 8, and then I've got 3 tens left. I need to take 2 of those tens away, which means I have 1 10 left. So 43.7 take away 25.48 is 18.22. The next sum that I'm going to look at is one that says 30.6 take away 6.93. Okay, so this second number is the number that I'm taking away. So therefore I'm going to write 30.6. Now I have 6.93. So 6 has the value of 6 units, which is why it's going to go in the units column. I then have my decimal point. 9 is 9 tenths, so I'm going to put that in the tenths column. And then I have 3 hundredths, so I'm going to put that next to the 9. Again before, just to help my brain recognise it, there's a blank in the top column. That means there's no value in there, so I'm going to put my place value holder. Now it makes it easier for my brain to understand what it's got to do. So I've got to start with this column. I've got nothing in there and I need to take away 3. I can't because there's not enough in there, so I'm going to go next door. I'm going to borrow one of those tenths. I'm going to chop it up into 10 pieces, which would make 10 hundredths. Now I've got 10. 10 take away 3 is 7. And then now I've dealt with that column, I'm going to go to the next value up, which is the tenths. I've got 5 tenths. I need to take away 9 of them. I can't do that because there isn't enough. Now, I would go to the column next door, but as you can see, there's nothing in there. Now, before I can borrow to put into the tenths column, I need to put some in there. So I'm going to have to borrow from the tens column. I'm going to borrow one of those. So instead of 3 tenths, there will be 2 tenths. I'm then going to chop that 10 up into its units, which means that there will be 10 units in there. Now there's enough. So because I've put some in there, I can now borrow the one that I needed for the tenths column. So I'm going to borrow one of those units, which means there's going to be 9 of them left. And the one that I'm borrowing and putting in there, if I chop it up into its tenths, means that there are now 10 extra, so it's 15 in there now. Now that's big enough, so 15 take away 9 would be 6. I need to put my decimal place. Then I can just look at the units. 9 take away 6, well 9 is bigger anyway, so I can do that. 9 take away 6 would be 3, and then 2 take away a blank, so take away nothing would be 2. I'd still have 2 left over. Okay, so the answer to 30.6 take away 6.93 is 23.67. Now the final sum that I'm going to look at is one which involves 2 zeros. So I've got 30.07 take away 19.16. So first of all I put the number that I'm starting off with, so 30.07. From that I'm going to take away 19.6, So underneath my takeaway sign, I'm going to put 19 because there's 19 units there. Point, and then I've got 1/10, and I've got 6/100ths to go in the hundredths column. All I do is I take one digit at a time, especially because I have the same amount of decimal places, so there's no place value holders to go in there. So I'm going to start off with this, 7 take away 6, well there's enough already, 7 take away 6 is 1. I'm going to go to the next column to solve this. I've got nothing and I need to take away 1. Well, I can't do that. I can't give any away if I haven't got any, so I need to get some in there. I would normally go to this column here. However, there's nothing in there, so therefore I need to jump again to the next column. So I'm going to go to the tens column. I'm going to borrow one of those. If I chop the 10 up, it's going to make 10 units. So I need to put that 10 that I've borrowed into the units column. Now I've got enough in there, I'm going to borrow one of those, which would leave 9. And then that would chop up and become 10/10ths, which is why that becomes 10. Now I've made enough in there, so 10 take away 1 is 9. My decimal point needs to go in my answer. Now I've got 9 and I need to take away 9, so that's going to leave me with nothing. I'm going to have to give all those ones away. Then I've got 2 10s. I'm going to take away one of those 10s, so which leaves me with one single 10. Therefore, the answer to 30.07 take away 19.16 is 10.91.